Today we're talking about cognitive developmental theory. This theory was developed by Jean Piaget, and his idea was that young children and learners figure out about the world through what they already know, and then using experience and maturation, they continuously develop that idea. So this happens through schema, which is sort of like scaffolding. In this case, each action that happens is filed away in their brain, and then certain events or other things that they learn will be added onto what they already know. So one example that I found was, let's say a young child sees a picture of a horse and learns about horses, that they're four-legged, they have a tail, and whatever other characteristics. So each four-legged animal they come across that's kind of medium-sized or bigger, they will consider a horse. So maybe one day she sees a cow, she will associate that with a horse. And then after that, her mom will say, no, that's actually a cow. So now she has both cow and horse in her schema, and she can differentiate the two. So it's just building on what she already knows and adding to that knowledge. The way that this is associated with assimilation, accommodation, and equilibrium is the same example with the horse. So she sees the cow and starts calling it a horse. That's assimilation, because she's using what she already knows to add to something else. The child being corrected on it by her parent and saying, no, that's a cow, that is accommodation. So now she's making changes in her brain that, no, that's a horse and that's a cow, and they're not the same thing. And the equilibration is her understanding that knowledge and building upon that. If it was disequilibration, then she would have a hard time differentiating between horse and cow until it made sense in her brain. So each child goes through 4 stages in their life. Although Piaget did not create specific age times and more about stages and how they develop, researchers have found that these are the average ages that each child goes through certain processes. We have the sensory motor stage, the pre-operational stage, the concrete operational stage, and the formal operational. The sensory motor, the main point of this was that children learn about object permanence. So peekaboo, when they put their hands in front of their eyes, they know at about 4 to 7 months that you didn't actually disappear, you're still there. The pre-operational stage, it's the children here kind of have a egotistical view of the world. They're still focusing on things from their point of view, and they can't differentiate between things from other perspectives. The concrete operational stage is when those higher thinking and critical thinking skills and problem solving start to become formed. And then the formal operational stage to adulthood is when more higher thinking and abstract thoughts are being presented. The next theory of development is the zone of proximal development, and that was founded by Lev Vygotsky, and his thought was that children or learners either can do something without help or can't do it, and there's a space in between those two that's called the zone of proximal development, where they can do the certain task, but it has to be with assistance. So this is done through actual scaffolding, where you're using the knowledge that the learner already has and the knowledge of someone who actually knows what they're doing, and closing the gap between what the learner does know and doesn't know so that they have a deeper understanding. So, for example, let's say a child is learning to cut with scissors. When they first start, they take the scissors in both hands and are opening and closing them. That's the knowledge that they have already. The zone of proximal development is them using scissors with help from, say, a teacher, and maybe the teacher is just holding the paper while they're using 2 hands to cut the paper to begin that development development of eventually being able to hold the scissors the proper way and cutting it and all that. So this continues and develops, and each step the teacher is bringing the child to more holding the scissors the proper way. So we start with the child holding two hands on the scissors with the teacher holding the paper. Then we move on to the child holding the scissors with one hand. The teacher might still be holding the paper, but the child is getting that practice of cutting with one hand. And then eventually the child will be holding the paper and cutting with the scissors at the same time. Therefore, their zone of proximal learning is closed, and they are now able to cut with scissors. So in this case, the teacher is the more knowledgeable other because they know how to cut properly and can guide the student to learn how to cut properly themselves. And this also relates to student or group settings with social interactions. So maybe a student who understands how a certain thing works can discuss and collaborate with a student who might be having trouble in that situation to close that gap and to help the student learn and understand. And the reciprocal teaching method I related to Common Core now because it's all about summarizing, questioning, clarifying, and predicting, and using hands-on learning and collaboration to learn and understand. So everybody is bringing something to the group. Everybody has their own knowledge and their own ideas and tiers of understanding, and they're using each other to build upon the knowledge that they have to scaffold and create new knowledge. And that's how the zone of proximal development closes. Thank you.